Welcome to another edition of the Noles Podcast. I am your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me and my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. Today is December 1st, 2021. No segments for this episode. A little bit of FSU stuff, mainly just college football stuff. Just wow, man. What a week. What a week. And it's only Wednesday. Lincoln Riley to USC, Brian Kelly to LSU. More dominoes are going to fall, but the more intriguing hire to me is Lincoln Riley to USC. And I know this is the Noles Podcast, but I think that this hire ultimately helps Florida State because you have so many big time schools in the Southeast that go to California to get kids. Now that you have a coach at USC that can hopefully corral a lot of that talent that comes out of Southern California, now, maybe Georgia and Alabama and Clemson and all these teams come back to the pack a little bit, because you look at those teams, they all have impact players from California. So, I'm not a Trojans fan. I've watched a lot of their games throughout my life, though. When the Pac-12 used to come on ABC religiously back in the day. Now they're on Fox. I don't watch as many Pac-12 games. But, obviously, the Pete Carroll, Reggie Bush era, I watched a lot of Pac-12 stuff just because, I was a Reggie Bush fan. Really a fan of the way that whole team was built. And it just, you can't compete with no school in the country can compete with Los Angeles. Okay? And the NIL stuff, name, image, likeness in Los Angeles, it's like times infinity for a recruit. So I think in very short order, very short time, USC is going to be back on the mountain. They've been down for like 10 years, ever since Pete Carroll left. And I think in a very short time, they're going to be back. And like I said, I think this helps Florida State. Georgia has a tight end that's very good. I can't think of his name. He's from California. Clemson has a California quarterback. Alabama has a California quarterback. Ohio State has a California quarterback. So, it just shows you, I think Florida plays the best brand. Florida high school plays the best brand of football. Then I think it's a toss-up between Texas and California, but you can't deny their impact on college football. So, it just shows you, man, like when the alumni and the boosters come together, they can make things happen. And I just wish, the alumni and boosters for Florida State could do the same thing. Like you gotta spend money, you gotta write the check to be good in today's college football. There's no denying that now. Coaches getting $100 million. Who saw that coming? Coaches getting $100 million. College coaches. And I thought maybe the NFL would have done it first, but hey, If somebody's willing to write that check, you got to make that move. And, you know, if Lincoln Riley did leave because he didn't want to compete in the SEC, I don't blame him. USC is way more attractive than any job in the SEC. Look where I'm in Los Angeles. I got all this talent within a 50-mile radius. I don't even have to leave. So I don't even have to leave my backyard. And I can bring in top 5 recruiting classes year after year after year. I mean, win-win. So, I mean, there's another place in the country that's like that. South Florida. But they won't pull the trigger and fire Manny Diaz and go get Cristobal. I don't know if Cristobal is the coach that can galvanize that talent, but, you know, I would either get him or Ed Orgeron and get Manny Diaz out of there. Look how much talent gets raided out of South Florida. Because you don't have a coach at Miami that can galvanize the talent and put a blockade around South Florida. So it just shows you, and Miami still puts, you know, every couple years they'll put a 10-win team out there. And that's not even getting the best players out of South Florida. They still can crank out a 10-win season every couple years. Just imagine if they actually, you know, pony up the money. So, you know, Brian Kelly to LSU, obviously a lot of talent comes out of Louisiana. He's going to get all of that talent because those kids in Louisiana, they love LSU. So I think in very short order, he's going to have LSU in the playoff every year. I mean, I don't know where Oklahoma goes. I don't know where Notre Dame goes. You're talking about 2 of the most premier jobs in the country. So prime destinations. I don't know where they go. I mean, everybody's saying Luke Fickell, but is he a Notre Dame fit? I don't know. There's a certain type of athlete that you have to recruit when you coach Notre Dame versus going to an Oklahoma. Oklahoma, maybe Brent Venables. I mean, maybe you go get the guy from Baylor. I like him. It's just college football is just crazy, man. Mike Norvell and the staff are on the recruiting trail. I mean, I'm just be honest with you, and I've said this on many a podcast, man. I don't go too deep on recruiting or the transfer portal. I just wait till the guys get on the field. I gotta see them play. They gotta pass the eyeball test. I don't sit here and get all hype. I think in the last 20 years, I've probably been hype about 2 recruits, Ernie Sims and Dalvin Cook. Those are the only 2 guys that I've been hype that I knew, you know, I knew they were going to be good players. You know, those are the only 2 guys that really excited me, that I said, hey, I need to go watch some YouTube on them. And YouTube wasn't even around when Ernie Sims was around. You know, it was basically word of mouth on Ernie Sims. But Dalvin Cook, it was, a lot of his high school stuff was out there. And I just said, okay, if we get this guy, he's gonna be something special. And, he was. So, obviously we know where our issues are. Football, the very foundation of football is domination at the line of scrimmage. You can give me 10 Travis Hunters. It don't mean nothing if you don't dominate on the line of scrimmage. You can flip it around to the offensive side. You can give me 10 Dalvin Cooks on offense. If we can't dominate the line of scrimmage, it's a moot point. And, that's what this coaching staff has to, they got to find some rhinos. That's what I call them, rhinos. You gotta find them. You gotta develop them. And, like I said, this team, this program is not in a position to take on projects. They need some impact guys that can come in and move people. Then you'll see everything else will open up. But I like the effort from the coaching staff immediately following the loss to Florida. They go out on the recruiting trail and, immediately they start grinding. I like that. That shows a dedication to trying to get this program better. Ultimately, I just think that you need to try to get as many offensive line recruits as you can, guys that can play. You need to upgrade at all positions. Like I said, the only guy that I really feel like is any good on that offensive line at his current position is Gibbons. The rest of them guys routinely get beat. It doesn't matter if it's an average defensive line or an elite defensive line. We need 5 guys that can play against anybody and dominate. And if that's not the goal, I don't know why, the coaching staff is in this profession. Because the goal is to dominate and win championships, ACC championships at Florida State, and that's where we want to be. The loss to Florida still stings. I would rather beat Florida than Miami, to be honest with you. I don't really hate Miami. Obviously, I want to beat Miami just for bragging rights, but I hate the Florida Gators with all my heart. And I would trade the win against Miami for a win against Florida in a heartbeat, in a second. And on my season review, I didn't break down the receivers, or I'm trying to think what else I didn't break down. I didn't really feel like it was a need to break down the receivers. I'm not going to say those guys are garbage, but we don't have a Peter Warrick out there. We don't even have a Rashad Green out there. So, but like I said, if we have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback, that stuff will open up. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Football is a game won and lost in the trenches. So I think Jordan Travis I don't think he can be an elite quarterback. I think he can be a great quarterback. I think that's probably the ceiling for him. I wouldn't say he could be a first round pick. I could see him being like a Russell Wilson. I could see him being something like that if he gets to the right situation. He's got to develop some more. But I think the biggest thing, again, to harp on it, that would help his development is if he could actually sit in the pocket and read the defense. I mean, we saw that against Miami on that final play. He made a money throw. So we know he can do it. And I would not get another transfer guy. I don't know. But you got to get a quarterback, either if it's high school or transfer. You got to do something there. You got to get an athletic guy too. Because don't take no more injury-prone quarterbacks. What else? That's pretty much it, man. Just waiting for early signing day. I would imagine if Florida State hits on some of these guys, Tyree West, Marvin Jones Jr., Julian Armella, that might push us into the top 10 of recruiting, which would be awesome. For a team with a losing record, that would be awesome. So we'll see. I mean, the early signing period is upon us. I don't like the early signing period. I just don't like it. I don't like the transfer portal. Although the transfer portal has helped us. So it's just a lot of stuff about college football and the way it's going. Coaches getting $100 million contracts. They'll recruit kids and just up and leave them high and dry. And you've made promises to these kids. I don't like that. But it's a business. It's a business now. Can we officially say college football is a business? Okay. And, this is why I never, ever, ever blame a kid for taking money from a booster or whoever when he plays college football, because of stuff like this. Get what you can out of it, because when you can't play no more, it's a wrap. Get whatever you can get from football, because when you can't play no more, it's done. So get whatever you can. So, and Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. I know I'm way late on that, but that was a dumb move, because you're not gonna win there. My prediction is Oklahoma and Texas will never win an SEC championship. Period. So, and then your coach, he knew that. That's why he said, okay, let me go to USC in Los Angeles and be a god. Or I can stay at Oklahoma and just play second fiddle, third fiddle, fourth fiddle to Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Having a good Southern California or USC is a great thing for college football, because the more talent that comes out of Southern California that can stay in Southern California, that lessens Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, and that's it. That's what it does. And this helps college football, because in the days of Pete Carroll and Ed Orgeron, when they were at USC, there was no way you was getting in there to get anybody. They basically, had a blockade around Southern California. So this is a tremendous victory just for college football, man. I don't begrudge any of those programs. They doing what they supposed to do, but it's crazy that those programs can go in there and get Najee Harris, Bryce Young, the tight end from Georgia, who is really, really good, the freshman. I think he's like number 19 or something. Nobody can compete with USC in terms of NIL, just exposure, expanding your brand. Nobody can in the country can compete with that. So, in short order, I just think the Trojans are just gonna go on a run here in the next couple years. I say you give him maybe 2022 to really, get some things straightened out. Then 2023, I look for them to just run through the Pac-12. They might run through the Pac-12 year one. He's already flipped the number one quarterback from 2020 in the 2023 class to USC. So, and I know this is the Go Noles podcast, but like I said, Florida State season is over with. You got to find something to talk about. I think this ultimately helps Florida State because it immediately helps them in conference with Clemson, because Clemson in the very near future is not going to be able to go into Southern California and get kids. It's going to be the kids that USC doesn't want. And even UCLA had a good season. So, I mean, the kids that USC doesn't want will probably go to UCLA. So, the West Coast has to matter in college football. And again, the more talent that you can take away from these Southeastern Conference schools, the SEC, and Clemson and Ohio State and, Michigan and whoever else, that helps other programs become better faster. But just going forward, Florida State is not going to get back to what Florida State used to be. There has to be a major emphasis on the offensive line. Robert Scott and Darius Washington cannot be your starting tackles next season. And I've said this a million times, and I'll say it a million times more. Darius Washington is a guard or center. He is not a tackle. Well, he hasn't given up a sack all season. Well, because you got a quarterback back there running for his life. Okay? And Robert Scott, when he's healthy, he's adequate. Okay? He's not good. He's not great. He's not elite. He's adequate. And we don't need adequate offensive linemen. We need people that can, move people. We need people that can move people. And nobody on this offensive line, including Gibbons, who I think is the best out of this bunch, can move people. Period. You got to do whatever you got to do. One, to me, get Lloyd Willis ready to play. Next year will be his 4th year on campus. Now, I've said this in the last episode, previous episodes. You got to get Rod Orr ready to play. To me, I would have took my lumps with them this year. Both guys 6'7", 300 pounds. I would have took my lumps and moved Washington and Scott to the interior, or moved Washington to center and had Scott and Gibbons at my guards. But that's what I would have did. I kind of knew Maurice Smith wasn't anything special. He's serviceable, but he's not going to hold up against elite defensive linemen, and it showed. So, that's really the key. When you can run the football and stop the run, you're going to win a lot of football games. And for the most part this season, against the good teams, we could do neither. So, hopefully we can get some guys in here, man, that can contribute immediately. We don't need to be taking on projects. We need players that can play immediately and contribute immediately. And, that's pretty much it. So again, thank you for listening. This podcast is available, on all platforms. It's available on YouTube. I'm just looking forward to a great 2022. And as always, go Noles.